morning. Welcome to Tribune News on Q, your go-to morning news source, only here, the Daily Tribune. We're live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune Now on YouTube, and at Daily Tribune Official on TikTok. For today's headlines. The ICC's pre-trial Chamber 1 has denied former President Rodrigo Duterte's request to access communications between the court's registry and the medical experts assessing his fitness to stand trial. Malacanang says it is ready to defend the 2026 national budget before the Supreme Court as critics, including lawmakers and the president's sister, warn it may contain pork barrel insertions. Around 600 tourists are stranded on Yemen's Kochora Island after flights were suspended due to rising tensions between the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. Deposed Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro made a defiant first appearance in a New York court, declaring his innocence, calling his arrest a U.S. kidnapping, insisting he remains president, and repeatedly clashing with the judge. Nicolas Maduro's son, a Venezuelan congressman, called Sunday for supporters to take to the streets after his father was ousted by U.S. forces and taken to a New York jail. The Philippine Statistics Authority said average inflation in 2025 eased to 1.7%, below the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas' 2 to 4% target range. Studios are kicking off 2026 with a packed lineup that includes sequels, horror franchises, star-led thrillers, and major streaming premieres. Alex Ayala showed grace under pressure and charged back from a set-down to shock Paris Olympics silver medalist Donna Vikic of Croatia in the Auckland Open round of 32 on Tuesday. Today is the 7th of January, and I'm Eliana Lacap bringing you today's top stories. Let's kick things off with today's weather. Pag-asa reports several weather systems will affect the country on Wednesday, bringing cloudy skies and isolated rains. Quezon, Oriental Mindoro, Marinduque, Romblon, and Northern Samar with scattered thunderstorms. Palawan will also experience scattered rains and thunderstorms due to a low-pressure area, while the rest of eastern Visayas and sees similar conditions from the easterlies. The northeast monsoon brings cloudy skies with light rains over the Cordillera Administrative Region, Cagayan Valley, and Aurora, and partly cloudy skies with isolated rains over Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon. Other areas will have isolated rain showers or thunderstorms. Residents are advised to stay alert and follow local advisories. Now for a traffic update. Light traffic is reported at Balintawak Toll Plaza, Mindanao Toll Plaza, and San Fernando northbound and southbound lanes. All other areas of NLEX, SETEX, and NLEX connector, including toll plazas and interchanges, are also experiencing light traffic conditions. Motorists are advised to stay alert and follow traffic advisories for a safe and smooth trip. Now let's move on to this morning's headlines. The International Criminal Court's pre-trial Chamber 1 has unanimously denied former President Rodrigo Duterte's request to access internal communications between the court's registry and medical experts, saying the defense already had sufficient information. The chamber upheld findings that the 80-year-old Duterte is fit to stand trial, rejecting claims of cognitive impairment. His requests for interim release were also denied twice. Duterte's camp continues to dispute the assessment and has asked the Philippine Supreme Court to rule on the legality of his arrest and detention. Malacanang says it is ready to defend the 6.793 trillion peso 2026 national budget before the Supreme Court amid looming legal challenges over alleged pork barrel practices. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the administration is confident the budget is constitutional and underwent thorough review before President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. signed it. Critics, including lawmakers and Senator Amy Marcos, argued fragmented allocations and retained unprogrammed funds hide beneficiaries and led to deep cuts in transport and infrastructure projects. Although the president vetoed 92.5 billion pesos in unprogrammed funds, critics warn structural issues remain. Around 600 tourists are stranded on Yemen's Kortora Island after flights were suspended due to rising tensions between the UAE and Saudi Arabia. The stranded visitors include Americans, Europeans, and Chinese nationals at the UNESCO World Heritage Site, located about 380 kilometers off Yemen's coast. Flights were halted as clashes intensified between the UAE-backed Southern Transitional Council and Saudi-backed government forces. The United States has banned travel to Yemen and could not provide consular services on the island. Yemeni airlines plan to resume flights to Jeddah on January 7th, while some travelers may seek passage to Oman by sea. Now deposed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro made a defiant first appearance in a New York federal courtroom, pleading not guilty to U.S. narcotics and narco-terrorism charges after being seized in a dramatic U.S. military operation. He called himself, quote, innocent, claimed he was, quote, kidnapped, and insisted he remains Venezuela's president. His wife, Celia Flores, also pleaded not guilty. The charges stem from a long-running U.S. indictment accusing Maduro of leading a cocaine trafficking network. Outside the courthouse, supporters and critics gathered as a high-profile case unfolds amid international outrage and intense geopolitical debate. Nicolas Maduro's son, Venezuelan Congressman Nicolas Maduro Guerra, urged supporters to take to the streets after his father was ousted by U.S. forces and taken to a New York jail. In a defiant audio message, Maduro Guerra vowed resistance and said supporters would fly the flag of dignity as they protest what he called an unjust action against his family. He accused those he believes betrayed Maduro and insisted Venezuela's socialist Chavismo movement will endure despite the high-profile upheaval. The Philippine Statistics Authority reported that average headline inflation for 2025 settled at 1.7%, well below the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas' 2 to 4% target and down from 3.2% in 2024. Slower price increases in food and non-alcoholic beverages, which eased to 1.2% from 4.4%, drove much of the slowdown. December inflation ticked up to 1.8% due to higher costs for food, beverages, and clothing, while lower rates in housing, utilities, and transport tempered pressures. Low inflation preserved household purchasing power and allowed the central bank to ease policy rates, though economists warn it may also signal weak consumer demand. Now, January 2026 opens with a packed slate of sequels, horror franchises, star-studded thrillers, and streaming premieres. The month kicks off on January 2 with Soulmates, a sci-fi horror about an AI companion gone awry. Greenland 2 Creation wins theaters January 9, following survivors navigating a devastated world. Mid-month sees 28 years later, The Bone Temple and Netflix The Rip with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck on January 16th. Mercy, starring Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson, arrives January 23rd, while January 30 closes with Sam and Raimi's survival thriller Send Help and the comedic mockumentary The Moment. Alex Ayala staged a thrilling comeback at the Auckland Open, rallying from a set-down to defeat Paris Olympic silver medalist Donna Vekic. The 17-year-old Filipino star, cheered on by fans at New Zealand's Manuka Doctor Arena, battled through a grueling 2-hour and 40-minute match against the former world number 17. Ayala now advances to the last 16 to face Petra Markovic, who defeated Camila Osorio. The victory follows Ayala's women's doubles upset with Eva Jovic over Venus Williams and Elena Svitolina, moving them into doubles quarterfinals. Now a quick look at today's horoscope. Today calls for simplicity and harmony, Gemini. Life doesn't need to be complicated to make an impact. Sometimes the simplest approach leaves the strongest impression. Focus on streamlining your schedule, syncing your priorities, and breathing life into each moment. Just as a memorable song shines through its clarity, your day will flow more smoothly when you embrace ease and relatability. Simplifying now opens space for creativity, connection, and lasting impressions, both for yourself and those around you. Now, did you know that on this day, January 7th of 1901, Filipino revolutionary leader Apolinario Mabini, along with 31 other political and military figures, was deported to Guam by Major General Arthur MacArthur Jr. Mabini, known as the brains of the revolution, served as chief advisor to General Emilio Aguinaldo and actively supported the guerrilla war against American forces. He authored the True Decalogue, inspiring Filipinos to fight for independence. Among those exiled were Pablo Ocampo, Artemio Ricarte, Pio del Pilar, and Mariano Llanera. MacArthur called Mabini a most active agitator, citing his refusal of amnesty, and continued with correspondence with insurgents, deeming the deportation absolutely essential. Now, this morning's viral video uploaded by LG has racked up 2.1 million views and is leaving netizens both laughing and wondering what these dogs are up to. The clip shows two dogs standing upright facing each other as if they're about to dance, or even maybe fight. Their unusual stance and expressions had viewers cracking up, with many joking about the quote dramatic showdown between the furry duo. And that's all for now, mga katibo. Join us again at 1 o'clock p.m. for more updates. This has been Eliana Lacap for Tribune News on Q.